Patch notes. That was a I didn't really think about how that would sound. It didn't sound great. Anyways, welcome to the 8.5 update notes. Pretty massive update here, lads. So we're gonna review here today and skip that song. So first off, ton of skins. I really like these. I didn't like the bonus notes skins, but these are all awesome. I think they're all great. And then I love the Athena rework, especially her voice too. I would play it, but it's super loud. So you guys can click on the patch notes and hear it yourself if you'd like. Yeah, I think this is a much better look for her and a much better sound for her too. I didn't really like how silly she sounded before. I don't think anyone really liked that. Like it was cute, and I'm assuming they're gonna keep it on the her Russian skins. Well, I should say her Russian-inspired skins. But yeah, I'm glad to just get that off the default look for the character. Then they have the schedule here, and then I'll let you know about the battle pass, and then quality of life, a few things here. The ranked was the big one, so ranked resets are returning, but they only apply to Diamond 1 and above players. I think that's a much better compromise. I think a full reset is just silly. I don't think that's a good idea, and they want to do this every other patch, and then they said if it feels too slow, they'll do it every single big patch. So I think that's fair. I mean, they're definitely listening, right? It's just they really shouldn't have done a huge, massive reset. That's I don't think that's a good idea. And doing it D1 and above makes sense, I think. Maybe they could scratch it down to wait, is it 4 or 5 tiers ranked? I forget. But yeah, maybe like the bottom of diamond and above instead. I mean, they have the numbers, right? They can see how many players are in the respective ranks, so maybe D1 is for the best. Then just general bug fixes. Oh yeah, and adjusted the large list of gods to reduce the chance that they would get into a situation where their basic attacks would desync from their character's animation. Finally, I can play Naja again. I hope they fixed it here, without wincing, of course. And Sano actually had that too, so hopefully we'll see. We'll see that in game and be happy finally. A whole bunch of bug fixes actually, which is really nice. But let's get into the balance. The reason we're all here. Wind Demon. Oh, I want to show that. Decreased the move speed from 20% to 10%, and the attack speed from 20% to 15%. I do like how they're tackling the passive. I think that's by far the best thing about the item. And then when you just start nerfing base stats, you just make the item irrelevant. I feel like. So I think that the move speed one is a really big one and a really important one. I think that was the most annoying thing about this item, is just giving what's it called, ADCs a way to just kite forever. Basically, it was a little too annoying, right? And most of the meta hunters are usually ones that have mobility anyways, so giving them a little bit more mobility like that was a little too much. I feel like I think this is still going to be a good item. I think it's still going to get picked up if crit, so long as crit stays in the meta. I think this will be a good item. I think. So next up, that god is probably real at this point. I think we just gotta admit he was real the whole time, because upgraded shell no longer provides block stacks. Oh my god, I can't tell you how good this is. That was the stupidest mechanic in the game. It's not really something I touched on too often. It's more something I said in passing, right? Like, oh, you can't use this because of upgraded shell. That's not so good because upgraded shell. But I really did think it was one of the dumbest things they ever put into the game. It was just really unfun to play against. It just made some characters feel like you couldn't play them, especially when you get to more and more coordination. We saw in the SPL, they bought like 3 or 4 shells against a set. He just couldn't play the character. Set's too strong, sure. But they just made it so he could not play the character when they coordinated their shells right and just stacked all these stupid block stacks on. So instead, the buffed god takes 50% less damage from basic attacks as long as they have the health shield. Okay, that's maybe not so great, but because that thing is getting shredded off instantly by abilities, and so you're probably going to see that this is barely going to affect things. You really gotta you really gotta time the shell right for this to really be effective. and sometimes this is not an option given, you know, like given the character, like say against like a Thor or a Susanoo, or, you know, someone who's CCing you and the person you want to shell before they actually go on you, right? So maybe that's not the best passive in the world, but I'm so glad they got rid of the block stacks. Like that was just a ridiculous mechanic that I think should never have been in the game. It was in the game for way too long because literally everyone was complaining about it because nobody thought it was fun or interesting. It just blocks basic attacks and destroys some characters' damage, or at the very least makes characters not do as much damage as they probably should. You know, just completely eliminating auto attacks is just dumb. I think that was just a dumb idea from the get-go. So alternate timeline, still not the best item in the game, but it definitely saw a little more play when they reduced that insane cooldown of like 10 minutes to 6 minutes instead. Saw a little bit more play then, but not too much. So they want to make it a little bit more impactful. Give it 70 power instead. Still not a high power item, but just make it like make it worth going essentially. Keep in mind it does have protections on it too. So I mean, and that really nice little passive. So, you know, you got to keep that in mind too. I don't think it'll be bought still, but I think they're going in the right direction if they want to make this a thing. I hope they don't make it a thing because that item is extremely annoying to deal with. But yeah. And next up, they're buffing Arcage's gem a little bit, giving it 200 mana. This feels a little pointless, honestly. They say it'll synergize with other mana mage items that care about mana. They're just talking about Book of Thoth, right? I think Book of Thoth is pretty much the only item like that. Yeah, this feels kind of like a pointless thing, right? Like the 200 mana doesn't matter late game because this is obviously a late game only item, literally. You don't care about 200 mana late game, and what's 200 mana on Book of Thoth? Maybe, what's it, 3%, so what, 6 extra power? I mean, it's really not that much. So I don't know. This feels kind of pointless. Next up, Gem of Focus, which is the other upgrade other than Arcage's Gem from Conduit Gem. Increase the power from 90 to 100. This is the one that gives you, what does it give you? It gives you move speed, right? Off of killing stuff, right? I think so. It's been a long time since I used this. I thought it was a pretty cool item. It's just Arcage's Gem was just better anyways. So upping it from 90 to 100 power to put it more in line with Arcage's insanely high damage. Makes sense, I think. I mean, I don't think it's going to be bought, though, is the thing, because Arcage is just right there. And they gave it 200 mana, whoa! Next up, Boomba's Spear, which was a pretty useless item, to be honest. I don't think there was any reason to ever go it, but now they have added 10% CDR, removed the mana. Oh, dude, the mana! And then the passive now provides 10% power buff for 10 seconds after jungle camp structures and jungle bosses. I'm assuming they say die near you or something. Or like an ally gets the kill on it or something. No longer provides bonus gold. Yeah, because they're basically removing the old passive, putting on a new one. Interesting, I guess. It just sounds really inconsistent to me. Like, it doesn't sound like something I'd want to go if I wanted, like, guaranteed. Like, the Eye of the Jungle upgrade and Boomba's Hammer, those are, like, guaranteed to me, right? Like, I'm going to be getting auto attacks off for Boomba's Hammer. And, like, with Eye of the Jungle, the Eye of the Jungle upgrade, Seer of the Jungle, I think it's called. I'm gonna be fighting in the jungle at some point, right? And I'm gonna have more damage with this 10% power buff, 10-second duration after jungle camp structures, jungle bosses. I mean, that's a big if, right? Like I don't know, I don't like that. But I guess we'll see. We'll see if it comes into its own at this point. I mean, the 10 CDR is pretty nice, and it does give you 60 power, which is pretty cool. But you know, I don't love it. I don't love it. Next up is Mannequin Hidden Blade, of course, from Mannequin Scepter upgrade. They removed the basic attack power. It no longer gives basic attack power. I think it was 75. And instead, they're giving it 60 physical power and 90 magical power. Pretty interesting change. That helps it out with magical junglers, which at this point is just Ao Kuang. But I mean, that is pretty helpful to Ao Kuang. But I don't know if Ao Kuang would ever go Mannequin. I think he definitely needs either Eye or Boomba's Spear? Is that the Boomba's Dagger? but they did increase the bonus damage on the passive from 15% to 20%. So I think they want this item to be good, huh? Yeah, that's pretty insane. I'd like to try this on Zasano at some point, because, or Set for that matter, because as you guys know, I got kind of screwed over because they didn't add the sustain to Mannequin Scepter when they first dropped it, and I tried to go that item and got destroyed for it. But yeah, I would like to try this. It's just still the same issue of if you get hit by a minion, this passive doesn't work, and you're kind of SOL at that point, which is unfortunate. But and also you're stuck with Mannequin Scepter for most of the game, which is just not as good as either jungle or Boomba's spear dagger. So next up, okay. So not Seer of the Jungle. I was talking about the other Eye of the Jungle upgrade earlier. Sorry, I didn't remember. I don't even know what it's called. But they increased the attack speed from 15% to 30%. They increased the duration of the buff on the passive that lets you see wards from 10 to 15 seconds. I don't know. I don't. Most junglers aren't gonna care about that attack speed. And they're more so going to care about, like, if you're going to either jungle, you're going to go the other item still anyways. I don't think this is, I don't think this is going to work out. I don't think this is going to be effective at all. This item's still not going to get picked up, I don't think. I mean, hey, in certain situations, I might. If it looks like it's going to be hyper late game, you might go this item just to get those wards out of the way and try and ensure your team a fire giant. But then, like, aren't you just better off with the percent damage increase? So next up, Warrior's Axe increased the health steal from 25 to 30, and decreased the cooldown from 10% to 10 seconds to 8 seconds. That's pretty cool. Try and make this item a little bit more viable because it fell off a little bit just because there's like so many characters in soloing that just do so much damage, and they're going like things like Bluestone and Death Toll instead. They want to bring this in a little bit more for characters that really benefit from it, which I think is cool. It's going to be pretty nasty on some characters, I think, and it's going to really help them out in the laning phase at least. And of course, they did also buff Sundering Axe, which is even better on warriors now. So I think this item might see a little bit more play now, especially on characters like King Arthur. Achilles will probably still go Bluestone, but you know, Tyr would like this item as well. Well, actually, Tyr is pretty good at Bluestone. So you guys get my point. Characters is good on, it'll be even better on. And they won't be quite as bullied out because they'll be getting a little bit more health, a little bit more often too. Warding Sigil increased physical protection. Who cares about this item? Like, this item is not doing anything. So it'd be 15 protections early. Really, it's not bad. It's just, I don't think you're going to see this anywhere. If I'm wrong about that, that's going to be sad, but I really think you're not going to see this item. Benevolence, it not only gives to one nearby ally for the bonus in golden XP. Yeah, that was a bit of an exploit, and that's why it was getting picked up a little bit, especially in pro play we saw it because they were just abusing. Apparently it was an issue, like this wasn't intentional, kind of a big design fault. Well, the thing is that people read the item and they just assumed you gave it to one person, one ally, I should say. So they just didn't go it. But once this was discovered, I mean, they're gonna have a field day with it probably. And they did, especially the pro players. So now it won't go to more than one person at one time. So I think you're probably not gonna see this item picked up anymore. And then upgraded Compassion and now provides 8 gold per 5 seconds. So basically just make this a little bit nicer for supports who are going to go it. Chances are if you were buying this, you were probably a support anyways. So this gives you that little bit of prospect to, basically not screw yourself over for the rest of the game. Getting that little bit of extra gold per 5 seconds is nice. An 8 gold per 5 seconds is a pretty nice increase, actually. It's pretty good income stream, essentially. So that's pretty cool. I like that. I still don't like the idea of Compassion because I think it's kind of abusable, especially with like Lono's Mask. The Lono's Mask Compassion thing. I mean, that's only going to get better, and it's only going to get more annoying. So, don't love it, but hey, Compassion's a little bit better now when it wasn't a very good item. So, Sentinel's Boon, the one that's next to Watcher's Gift, Sentinel's Embrace. So they increased the health and mana restored on the passive from 3% to 4%. That's pretty cool. I mean, it's a little bit better now, but I don't think you're gonna see people buy this. Sentinel's Embrace is just too good. The Chiron's Coin, though, decrease the cost by 100 and increase the power to 90. Okay, this is an item with MP5, move speed, heal, 90 power, and costs 2,400, and has 20% physical magical pen. That's crazy. I think this item's definitely gonna get picked up more. Over Obsidian Shard, probably. I mean, it kind of depends on where the builds go, because you kind of need percent pen right now. Like the really high amount of percent pen you get from Obsidian Shard, but still, I think this is gonna be awesome. Finally, a little bit more of a mix-up in the in the mid lane, and then Book of Thoth, increase mana contribution on Book of Thoth by 1%, then increase the MP5 from 15 to 20. This is a nice little buff to this build. It was getting picked up a little bit, and they just want to reinforce that, I think, just to keep things fresh in the mid lane, because things are getting pretty stale for a little while. So yeah, I think Book of Thoth will be on the rise in mid lane, which I guess I like. Stacking can get kind of boring and tedious, but it does wind up giving you pretty explosive mages, which I think is more fun. And now a weird change: Spear Magus added 12% lifesteal. I don't know. They're just slapping on lifesteal to the less popular flat pen item. I mean, it'll make it better. It's just I feel like this was a bit of a lazy change. I feel like. Well, of course, you're supposed to team this with your lifesteal build, right? With like Typhon's Fang and things like that. So it's supposed to go and make another build essentially. You have your CDR based build, you have your Book of Thoth based build, you have your lifesteal based builds. Now they're trying to reinforce that, but I don't know. It seems like a bit of a lazy change to me. So Mail of Renewal sees 50%, 50 health less overall, but they half the amount of time it takes for the heal to complete. I still don't like the idea of this item. It's basically a Stone of Gaia heal for free, and I don't want that to be good ever. So I don't love this. I think they should just rethink or remove this item before it gets out of hand, and you just have tanks running around healing all their health back for free for no reason. And Stone of Fall decreased the cost by what is that, 250? No, it's 150. Sorry, by 150. So that's cool. I actually don't even remember what this item does. I don't think you're gonna see it very often. But yeah, there you go. Decreasing the cost is probably the way to go, especially on a protection item like that. So for the Persephone rework, I will be doing that in a video in the future, because I think just reading it out, it just doesn't have the same impact, and it's gonna get lost in translation probably. You can read it for yourself if you'd like. I think there's some pretty interesting changes here, but yeah, I'll be doing a separate video on that. So next up, Gilgamesh is getting some more changes. Decrease the burst damage, so the initial damage on his one, by 20 overall. Yeah, that's rough. Obviously, it scales, so it's not just shaving 20 off. That would be too much. But yeah, by the time it's maxed, it's 20 damage less. That's pretty rough. It's a pretty spammable ability though. But they did nerf this in the bonus notes as well. So yeah, they're definitely trying to take this character down, not just a peg, but like 2 pegs at least. So they're definitely recognizing that he was too strong, because 20 damage is a lot off the base damage. In addition to the whole 0.5% less max health on the actual auto attacks you get from this. So then they also reduced the stun duration from 1.1 to 1.5 to just 1.2 at all ranks. Makes sense to me. The 1.5 did feel a little bit too much, especially some Gilgameshes like to max the dropkick first, and that could feel a little oppressive. So I like that. And then Tiamat decreased the lifetime of deployable from 21 seconds to 11 seconds. This is the Minotaur, right? Yeah, I think. Blah blah blah. Split push. These basilisks. That's the little dudes, right? Oh, right, yeah. So what they're referring to? Okay, I actually misread this the first time I read it. So this is the little portal that they spawn from. So only 4 basilisks can spawn instead of the total of 6. Okay, that's good. I don't like this item, this ability at all, though. I think it's really stupid. They just auto-push the wave for you for no reason. I think that's kind of dumb. That's just a bad idea. Because it not only allows her to so she can throw minions down any lane to just steal farm from your teammates, or she can throw them down the lane just to split push while you're trying to pressure an objective, which I think is really dumb. It's a neat mechanic in the sense that this hasn't been done yet, but yeah, I think it's a bad idea overall. Yeah, but I'm glad they're nerfing it at least. Sobaka got some buffs, some really nice buffs actually. So they decrease the mana cost on his eat minion, and it actually restores mana upon successfully eating a minion, which I think is awesome. Because Baka, for being someone who does the most damage, does most of his damage, with his auto attacks, he actually ran out of mana pretty often. So I think this is a really nice little buff for him. Will it make him meta? Yeah, but it is going to help him a lot. I mean, he was one of my favorite characters when I was first starting to play Smite. So, I mean, I'm happy to see him get a couple buffs, as annoying as he is to play against. And also, no upgraded shell anymore. So that's going to be great for him. And they also decreased the cooldown of his Butcher Blades from 14 to 12. So if you have to use it to clear a camp, you can get it back a little bit sooner to maybe gank somebody. That's cool. I might do a Baka video because I just love that character. He's such a fun, stupid character to play. And yeah, I'm glad they're giving him some mana sustain because that was genuinely a problem for him. So Bellona got some buffs. The spin damage on her bludgeon increased by 15 base damage at all ranks. That's cool. That's a cool little buff because I mean the bludgeon's getting stopped pretty much every time you use it, right? So at least increased a little bit of spin damage, or if you get it off completely, you get your overall damage of the bludgeon increased by a pretty significant amount. So that's good. And then increase the stun from 1 to 1.25 seconds at all ranks. This I think is just supposed to help fight against diminishing returns a little bit, because say you like disarm someone, you're trying to all in them, and then they leap away. Obviously, they're DR'd, so you're not going to get the full 1 second. So this pretty much helps you get the full 1 second once they're DR'd. So that's good. I think it's a good change. And then 1.25 overall, like if you engage a team fight with this, that makes it even better. A little bit more of a better engage tool. So that's nice. That's good. That's a good change for her. Because, I mean, this is pretty much all she could do in a team fight, right? Is Eagle's Rally and then try to do a combo. So increasing the stun duration, I think, is a good way to go with that. Then Chiron's dash. He's now knock-up immune while galloping. I mean, I hate this ability. I think it's a super annoying ability to fight against. It just once it feels like he gets a little bit away from you, he's just gone. There's just nothing you can do. Now he's also knock-up immune during it. Okay. Well, the thing is, it says knock-up immune, but I think it's just going to be displacement immune, essentially. I mean, you can still Sylvanas pull him because it stuns and pulls, and then you can still Sobek pluck because it stuns and pulls. But I'm thinking, like, Sasano, you probably can't pull him while he's dashing, I'm assuming now, which is unfortunate. So, yeah, I don't love that change, but, I mean, Chiron's not great, right? He's just okay, so I get it, but can't they buff something else about him? Man, whatever. Increase the 1,000 cuts damage by 5, and it hits 4 times. Yeah, 4 times. So it's 20 damage overall, which is nice. And then increase the base damage also on her 3 by 10. So just increasing her base damage a little bit. Yeah, it did really feel like she just didn't do enough damage. Like, she did a respectable burst damage, but it just wasn't enough, it felt like. So that's a nice little change to her. They don't want to overbuff her because in the hands of like a pro player, and in a competitive environment where everyone's talking to each other, she could be pretty nasty. But yeah, I think this is a nice change. Fafnir decreased the cooldown from 15 to as you rank it, it lowers itself a cooldown from 15 to 13 seconds, and this also applies in his dragon form. Cool, I like that. I think this is a fair change to him. Also decreasing the cooldown on his 2. I thought it was called Confound. Underhanded Tactics. I didn't even. Well, it also affects him in his dragon form as well. So it's not just for his little gnome. Is he a gnome? I actually don't know what Fafnir is. Yeah, so that's a nice little buff to him. They don't want to overbuff him because, again, really good and competitive. So they don't want to overbuff him for SPL. But for everyone else, these are nice little changes. He's actually a super effective character, though. Like, everyone underestimates Fafnir, I think, but I think he's actually, like, a great character. He's just a little bit more teammate dependent. So, you know, there's that. So Hera increased the magical power scaling from 75 to 80% on her polymorph. Yeah, this ability actually does a ton of damage for how good the CC is on it, and the range, of course. So if you're good with the polymorph, hey, more power to you. You're gonna be slamming, I think. And if you go with the Soul Gem build as well, yeah, that's gonna do a lot of damage. And then they upgraded. They buffed her shield as well. So basically, they decreased the base amount by a little bit, but increased the health per level, basically, because it scales with her level. So that's nice. That's a nice little change. It's pretty significant. It's 550 to 570 at max rank. So that's a nice little change, I think. They of course don't want to overbuff it because when Hera's good, it feels like you can't do anything against her. But yeah, I think those are some nice changes for her. And then Kukulkan as well, who actually saw a bit of a comeback in competitive. I'll have to look into that a little bit more as to exactly why. I mean, I can see why he's pretty good. He's actually decent into bruisers, surprisingly. Bruiser assassins, I should specify. So they're decreasing the cooldown on his 2 from 15 to 13. As you rank it up, the cooldown decreases. I think that's a good call. I don't think you want to straight up just decrease the cooldown because it is a really strong ability, actually. Cleansing slows and giving you a huge movement speed buff. It is actually a really decent ability. So I think, and of course you don't level it on Kukulkan until later. So I think this is a fair trade-off to make him a little bit stronger. And then Medusa, her 3 increases the healing debuff 3. You don't use the 3 for a healing debuff. It's just a nice little plus. And then decrease the cooldown as you rank it. The cooldown decreases from 15 to 13. That's nice. I mean, it helps her with her aggression, right? And also as well makes her a little bit safer. Say she dashes away and you're able to dashes away from a gank and you're able to hold yourself off for a little bit longer. But I mean, you don't level it till later anyways, though. So I guess it's okay. It's my issue is this part helps with her using it aggressively, right? But like you don't use it aggressively really late game, unless you like get a pick or something. So, interesting change. I mean, I'm always down for a Medusa buff, but I don't know. Maybe they should just make it so you can go through gods already. I mean, once you do that, like the character's so much better. If you just let this go through gods, it's so nice. Like, but they already buffed her so much that they don't want to make her like OP. Which is understandable, but I don't know, man. I think you just need to make this go through gods already. Like, I think that's what's really holding her back is just the ability to just box her in, essentially, which you can't do to most hunters. At least not right away, you know what I mean? Like, you can't box in it on her right away. You can't box in a Heimdall right away. You can't box in a Cernunnos, a Chernobog, any Apollo, especially Apollo. You can't box those characters in right away, but you can just box in a Medusa, and even if she has her dash up, she can't use it. So, you know, just let her. Even Chiron can dash out of someone trying to body block him. Let Medusa do that already. I mean, you clearly want her to be good. She's been buffed like 6 times over the past year. That's probably an overstatement. It's more like 3 or 4 times, but seriously, that's still a lot of buffs. So they want her to be good. Just let her dash through people already. Goodness. So then Mulan is the last change. Whew, these were some patch notes, huh? But increase the buff duration, which is the attack speed buff, which is relating to her passive. Once the one has been upgraded by the passive once, she gets attack speed after you use the ability. So the increased duration from 4 seconds to 6 seconds, that's pretty nice, actually. Yeah, when you're trying to chase people down, I mean, that's really helpful. And then the grapple increased the buff duration from 4 to 6 seconds again. She gained protections after using it, just like with the 1. And then increases stun duration from 8 seconds to 1 second. Oh! 0.8. Oh! Nice. Yeah, this is actually, well, of course it's good for Mulan overall, but especially this change I think is really good for Jungle Mulan. So, another Jungle Mulan video? Chris Rock? So good. I'd be down. Yeah. Alright. Cool. I like most of these changes. They've really changed a lot of stuff in this patch. Tried to give more magical build options, giving junglers more options, helping out warriors that used Warrior's X, trying to give supports more options, but I don't think that's going to help too much. And then, of course, the Persephone rework, which we'll get to later. And then just tons of changes. Well, pretty much most of the characters that needed buffs got buffs. And the characters that needed nerfs got nerfs. Either here or in the bonus notes. So, yeah. Overall, a really decent patch. Although, I am worried about them basically changing the meta with every patch. With every big patch, they're trying to change the meta. I don't know how healthy that is for the game. Just, you know, things changing too fast or not being able to enjoy meta that you enjoy for long enough. I don't know. What you guys thought on that? What's your thought on the patch notes themselves? Let me know. Thanks for watching.